Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Aronson. Welcome to Seminar 2, offered by the City of Westmount on COVID emergency aid. And this one is for small businesses, and specifically businesses that are suffering because of the COVID crisis. I'm going to give it a minute here and make sure that anybody who wants to log in can. And then we're going to get going. In the meantime, I'd encourage you to take a pen and paper out because there's going to be a lot of information flying at you here, and I want to make sure you get it all. Now, the slides I'm going to show you today are going to be available in a link in the chat window, and you're going to be able to download those, so you'll be able to keep them with you. But nevertheless, I always encourage people to take notes as we talk because it's going to be easier to backtrack and figure out what it is exactly that you want to do after we're finished with this presentation. So, without any further ado, I'm going to open up my slideshow here, and we're going to get started. If you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, there will be a Q&A at the end of this, and when that happens, I encourage you please to put up your questions as we go, and we're going to go through them one by one and make sure that anything you're wondering about can be addressed here in this seminar. And of course, if we don't get to your question, or if there's something more complicated or perhaps even of a sensitive nature that you don't want to talk about in this forum, I encourage you to contact me or any legal professional that you may have available to you in order to make sure you get all the information you need to make the right decision about how to help your business. My contact information is going to come up at the end of the slideshow. So let's get rolling here on what it is exactly we're talking about and how we might be able to help you and your business find some additional funds to get through this difficult period. So we're going to open up the slideshow here. And hopefully our technology is going to cooperate. And there we go. We should be able to see us now taking a look at the slideshow. I should note that there's a bit of a lag on my screen, and so sometimes I have to pause for a moment to let YouTube catch up to what I'm saying and doing, to make sure that you're able to see what it is I need you to see. So that's the screen that we're going to try to get you to be able to see. Okay. Okay. And now we're going to try to get it. There we go. Okay. So let's begin with show me the money, because that's what we're all here for, is to find out where the money is and how we can access it to help our businesses. So what we're going to do is start here with a little introduction. I'm going to introduce myself and what this seminar is about. We're then going to go to an overview, which will be a little bit of an orientation as to what exactly we're talking about. We're going to go through federal programs, some provincial programs, some municipal programs, and then a last-minute addition here, a couple of other programs that were that we added to our slideshow at the very last minute. The question and answer period, and then, of course, conclusion and thanks. So, speaking of thanks, I actually have to start by saying thank you to the City of Westmount for making this presentation possible. In particular, the Mayor's office, the office of the Communications Director, Sebastian Samuel, who's helping me right now silently behind the scenes to make sure this flows properly, and Councillor Ludham for making all of this possible. Now, you may be wondering what exactly it is we're doing here today. Why are we here? What is it that the city is trying to provide for you? Well, this presentation is for the benefit of local businesses. Now, mind you, most of what I'm saying here is going to be applicable to you, even if your business is not located within the boundaries of the city of Westmount. But we're going to address the specifics of local programs in our third section, which will encompass basically all of Montreal. So if you are just outside our borders but have a lot of customers that come to your locations from Westmount, well then this might be of interest to you. And of course, we're going to make sure the slideshow is available and put up and kept up. So if you want to come back and take a look at this later, you can certainly do so. By way of introduction, my name is Matt Aronson. I am a lawyer at Adesky Attorneys in Westmount. I've got a license to practice law from the Ontario Bar and a temporary license from the Barreau de Quebec in order for me to be able to practice here as well. And I'm in the process of going through a full conversion to become a standalone member of the Quebec Bar. I practice three areas: real estate law, corporate commercial law for small to medium-sized businesses, and some immigration. I'm also a small business owner outside of Westmount, and so I have some experience with being on the other end of what it is you are dealing with at the moment, and so I'm happy to provide any insight that I have as a small business owner, and coming from a family of small business owners, as well as a legal and sort of a practical viewpoint. Now, listen, it's really important for me to point out to you and make sure that we're all on the same page that what I'm providing you here is legal information. It's information that's supposed to help you to make some decisions and to get an orientation on what it is you need to do, but it's not legal advice. Of course, we can provide you legal advice as your lawyer or any legal professional you may wish to consult can do. But what we're giving you right now is a very general overview. And I want to make sure it's well understood that we're not specifically endorsing any particular program or another. We just want to make sure that you have all the information you need. If you need a legal opinion, I do encourage you to speak to your legal professional of choice. And if you don't have one, or you'd like to talk to Adesky Attorneys, of course, we're very happy to help you. So our goal here is to provide enough information for you to understand the terminology that's being thrown around, especially all the acronyms, to ask the right questions, and to make the applications or applications that will best help your business to weather the COVID-19 crisis. As I said before, Section 1 is going to deal with our federal programs, and we're going to cover the big ones. Section 2 is going to talk about provincial programs. Section 3, local or municipally oriented programs. And then at the last minute, we've added Section 4, which is other programs that might be of interest to you. And I have to give a particular thanks to Councillor Ludham for these ones because she pointed them out to me and I learned something new in analyzing them to be able to present them to you. And we're going to end with a Q&A. I see people have already posted some questions, but please do go ahead. If you have something on your mind, post it in the chat window and we're going to address it at the end. So the big federal program that is very well known, that I'm sure you may have heard of already and you may have already applied for, is the Canada Emergency Business Account, or otherwise known as CEBA. In a time of COVID, everything gets an acronym. And so CEBA is the one that correlates to the Emergency Business Account. This is a government-backed or government-guaranteed interest-free loan that's being made available to small and medium-sized businesses and non-for-profits that are struggling to make ends meet right now. It is something that you can apply for through your lender, and you will be able to do so through your bank account. I'm getting a call now from our communications director, who I guess is to communicate something to me. And so I'm going to ask you guys to bear with me as I take this call. Hi, what's up? The stream ended? Okay, ended where? Okay, I'm still seeing the emergency Canada Business Account slide that I'm on and that I'm speaking of, reflected at me. So I've still got a stream. I believe so. I've got the volume on YouTube turned off, of course, because otherwise I'd be hearing myself speak 30 seconds later in my window. I'm not really sure how we can go about checking to whether or not the rest of our audience is still with us. Okay. I won't, and I'll go back to whatever section we need. Okay. Okay. Bye bye. Okay. So the city of Westmount lost the feed, but I can see that some of you are still able to hear me. Um, and I do thank you for bearing with us as this is all new to everybody. I'm used to doing these kinds of presentations in a room full of people, and so um, I I apologize for the delay. We're going to carry on where I left off. So, what I was talking about, let me put this back on. What I was talking about was the Canada Emergency Business Account, which of course is the interest-free loan that, or loans, I should say, offered by financial institutions and guaranteed by the government of Canada. You could apply for these through your bank. If you are with the Royal Bank, for example, they even made a specific button you can push in your commercial bank account window online. You fill out a little bit of information, and the money is coming through very quickly. I've heard of people being funded in as little as 24 to 48 hours. They've all of a sudden got $40,000 of a line of credit available to them that they didn't have before. Now, this money is for operating costs while revenues are temporarily reduced. We hope that this is going to be a short temporary period, but nevertheless, the funds will be available to you, and you don't have to take them all at once. You can use them as you need to. It actually shows up, at least through in what I've heard through the Royal Bank, at very least, it shows up as a credit card account, which is very interesting. But nevertheless, it acts like a line of credit, and it's really fantastic because it happens to be interest free until the end of 2022. Now, what does that mean, interest free? Literally means that you can borrow up to $40,000 and not have to pay a single dime of interest until January the 1st, 2023. And the interest that will apply, it's 5%, it only applies to whatever is still outstanding on January the 1st, 2023. So if you manage to pay the whole loan off between now and the end of 2022, well, you've just gotten $40,000 of someone else's money to work with, and it didn't cost you a cent. But it gets better than that. If you borrow some money for your business, and by the end of 2022, you have paid back 75% of what you've borrowed, the government is going to forgive the rest of the loan completely. So, doing some quick back of the envelope math, that means if you borrow $40,000 over the next couple of months and pay back $30,000 before the end of 2022, the balance, that other $10,000, is yours to keep, and you won't have to pay any interest or penalties on it whatsoever. And so, this is an extremely powerful and robust program that is open to most or many small businesses. Let's go through the criteria of what you need in order to get these funds. So, qualify. A business has to have a couple of things. First off, you've got to have a 2019 gross payroll of between $20,000 and $150,000. I'm sorry, $1.5 million. So if you have a payroll of $21,000 combined over the course of 2019, you'll qualify. And in fact, the payroll number that you use in order to make your outsourced deductions and various other payments to and remittances to the government is the key to getting into this program. You're going to give them the total payroll that you paid out in 2019 and your payroll number. And using that information and that information more or less alone, the government will be able to give you the thumbs up and get you your money. So if you don't have a gross payroll of $20,000, but you have fixed expenses, these are non-deferrable expenses of at least $40,000, and you can demonstrate that, you also qualify. Fixed expenses include things that can't be pushed off and they can't be reduced. So if you, for example, have a landlord who's going to be collecting over $40,000, or frankly, if your landlord is collecting rent, and that plus all your various other fixed expenses will add up to $40,000 in a year, you may qualify for this program. If your landlord is not able to assist you in making an application under the CURCA program, the Canadian Emergency Commercial Real Estate program, which we discussed on Monday, and which you could still find through a YouTube link, which I'll ask our communications director, Mr. Samuel, to put up when he has a moment. Then this might be another alternative that would assist you along the way. So you have to have been operating for some time. You've got to be able to demonstrate that you've been operating since at least March 2020. So if your business really started just as COVID started, then this might get problematic for you, because you need to be able to show that at the time that you created your business, COVID hadn't started yet. So March 1st, 2020 is the date they're giving. If you incorporated or created your business after March 1st, you're out of luck here. This is not a program for you. You've got to be up to date with various other loans that you may owe. And included in that, you've got to have filed your 2018 taxes or your 2019 taxes to make sure that you're up to date with any funds that may be owed to the government. If you're in default of other loan obligations, or you have not filed your 2018 taxes, then this is going to be problematic for you, and we're going to have to work around those issues. Most likely by bringing you up to speed with all of these other obligations and filing your taxes before you make an application. So the application program, as I had mentioned, is available through your business's bank. There are something crazy like 250 banks across and financial institutions across Canada that are participating. If you need more information, I'm putting a link up here on the slideshow. Again, you're going to be able to download these slides near the end of the presentation, so you don't have to try to scramble to write all this very long and complicated business down. But you can also Google CEBA and it will pop up. Moving on, if you've already applied for CEBA and it's not sufficient, or if you're looking for additional and you're looking for additional money or an alternative because you don't really want to borrow money, there's another big one that is being offered by the federal government to assist small businesses and medium-sized businesses. And this one is the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. So, as you know, one of the big line items in running a business is paying salaries. In an effort to keep Canadians working and to make sure businesses could keep people at work, even if it's working remotely, they have offered to subsidize the first $58,700 of any employee's salary in a year. That works out to being about $850 a week. And they're going to subsidize it up to 75%. So this basically means that you're paying 25% of the salary that your employer is receiving, and the government is going to kick in the rest to make sure that you get the help that you need and that your employees stay working. And this can add up to quite a lot of money. It's retroactive to March 15th. So if you've been paying out up till now to your employees, you can still recoup some of that money by making an application, and the application period that you can be eligible for will be up to 12 weeks. So if you go back to March the 15th and make your application for that time, you'll have to count forward 12 weeks, and those 12 weeks will be covered up to 75%. Now, we don't really know what's going to happen after this 12-week period ends. When this program was designed, of course, we were hoping that COVID would be handled quickly, and that people would be back to work quickly. If that's not the case, it is possible, although I have no information on this, and do not quote me, but it's possible the program may be extended or added to at some point down the line. We're going to have to wait and see. Now, to qualify for this, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to have a CRA payroll number. And you're going to have had it prior to March the 15th, 2020. So again, if you are a new business, this program might be complicated or difficult for you to access. If you have a business that has been around for longer period of time, then you also have to show that you suffered a loss of at least 15% of revenue in March 2020 and 30% in April or May of 2020. Now, you are going to have to compare that against a period from last year to see whether or not there's any kind of additional funds available to you. I'm sorry. I am mixed up in my slides, and I've just been there we go. Okay, I'm really sorry. I've got the wrong title up here. This is for the CEWS program, the wage subsidy. And this title is indicating that it's for the CEBA, but it's not. This information here, which we'll correct in the slides to contribute, is for the wage subsidy. And I'm also being told through a chat window here by the senior partner that good news, the CEWS program, this program, has actually been extended to August. So we get even more coverage than we thought in the first place. And I thank Mitra Adeski for offering me that additional information. I should also say that I see now that an expert in local and municipal funding, Mr. Guy Bazinet, will be joining us for the third section of this presentation. He's joined the Zoom call. You can't see him or hear him yet, but I'm going to introduce him and to ask him to take us through some of the local initiatives when we come to that section of the presentation. Now, let's back up for a second here. Sorry, guys. Okay. So if you need to have more information about the CEWS, that's the wage subsidy program, again, download the slides and you'll find the link if you Google the emergency subsidy using the acronym CEWS, you'll be able to find it. Alternatively, this long link that's being displayed on your screen right now could be helpful. Moving on, there is also another kind of wage subsidy that's available as a remittance for your outsourced deductions. This is a simpler program. It's a little bit smaller, but every penny counts these days. This is going to allow for a reduction in payroll deductions that has to be paid to the federal government of up to 10% of any employee's gross pay from March 18th to June 19th, 2020. Now, that maximum, it's to a maximum reduction of $1,375 per eligible employee, and to a maximum of a total of $25,000 for each employer. But nevertheless, like I said, every penny counts. Who's going to qualify? Well, if you are an operating entity that had a payroll prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, then this is a program you can apply for. And what it's really doing is keeping money that's already in your pocket, so that you're not giving it to the federal government as outsourced deductions. It's not the same thing as new money coming in, but it's certainly worth thinking about. Another federal program that's available through the Export Development Canada, or the EDC, is the Business Credit Availability Program, which is for small and medium-sized businesses. Now, they define that as being the funds available are actually in the forms of guarantees, but can sometimes be in the form of partial loans of up to 80% of new operating credit and cash that that is available from financial institutions. So if your bank makes you a loan or a line of credit that's not attached to any other kind of program, the EDC may come and assist you in giving you a loan guarantee or even doing a partial funding of that loan up to $6.25 million, up to $6.25 million per loan. So we're talking about a large sum of money here, and this is really supposed to be a program to assist businesses that are having supply chain issue problems or having problems with import-export. But there's a lot of details for this program, and the best people to speak to about them is actually your primary financial institution. They're well versed on this and can tell you whether or not this is a program that would be useful for your business. There is, to round out the federal programs, one last thing that it looks to me like a bit of a catch-all to help people that don't fall into any other categories. And it's called the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund. It's for businesses or organizations that don't have access to any of the federal assistance already in place. So ones that can't, for whatever reason, get the wage subsidy, can't get the CEBA loan, aren't able to get any kind of assistance elsewhere. And there's two different streams for this. We don't yet know exactly how the federal program is going to be administered in Quebec, but I've been told that there are some high-level discussions happening with PME Montréal, and Mr. Bazinet will be able to speak to this a little bit more when he joins us in a few minutes, for businesses under with revenue under $250,000 in the last year. For businesses over $250,000 revenue in the last year, it's going to be handled by the Canada Economic Development for Quebec Regions Agency. The sort of odd URL that they have available is up on the screen at the moment. This is a very big sum of money. I'm thinking that for most of our small and medium-sized businesses in Westmount, it's probably not the case they're going to fall into this category, but there are some select others that can apply under this category. For example, arts and cultural organizations, some tourist-oriented organizations, and I think even restaurants may be able to make this work for them. This is, again, one of those places we had to take a deep dive and look into it to see what can be done. On the local side, Mr. Bazinet may be able to speak to us a little bit more about what the RRRF might look like in Quebec or in Montreal, if indeed the agency chosen to administer it is PME Montréal. So, turning then from the federal programs, there were two big principal Quebec programs that were made available. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Concerted Temporary Action Program for Businesses. In French, it's got the acronym PACT. And then we're going to talk for just a brief moment about another program that was available for training subsidies, which unfortunately has closed as of yesterday because they met their maximum limit of funding. So for PACT, this is a loan or loan guarantee of up to $50,000 or more to shore up a business's working capital. And it's open to any businesses that can demonstrate that they're likely to be profitable after the COVID-19 crisis is passed. You're going to have to be able to show that your cash flow issues are temporary and they are attributable to either a problem involving supply chain, like you just can't get the materials you need for your business or the products you need for your business, or an inability or substantially decreased ability to deliver the goods, products, or services that make up the core of your business. Now, I would imagine that for most of us, having your business shut down because you're not an essential service, or severely limited because even as an essential service, you're just not able to meet demand under the current circumstances, I would hope would qualify. But that is a specific issue that will look different in every case, and one that I would strongly encourage you to think very deeply about before you make a PACT application, and consult your accounting or legal professionals in order to give yourself the best possible chance of getting that kind of money. It is handled through Investissement Québec. The URL is crazy long. It's up on the site right now, and you can see it. When you go ahead and make an investigation of this, you're going to see that there's some more fine details about the types of businesses that are available and the industries that are available for the PACT, and that's going to be something that your financial institution would be able to better guide you than an online seminar of this kind. Moving on, there is the PACME program, the training subsidy program. I had quite a lot of material prepared on this, and I must say it was one of my favorite programs. I regret that last night when we double checked all of our information to make sure everything was up to date, we found out that this one had just met the $150,000 capacity. And so regrettably, it is closed for the moment. We shall hope that given its popularity, they may reopen or fund it with more money. So I did want to make you aware that it existed, but there's really no point in getting into the details at the moment because right now they're not accepting any more applications. For what it's worth, it was covering 100% of salaries up to $25 an hour, plus trainer and consultant fees of up to $150 an hour, and for the purchase of training plans for employees, and it could be stacked on queues or on the temporary wage subsidy programs. So this was a really nice way of giving staff training on how to properly social distance and protocols necessary to keep safe during COVID, or to retrain to be from sort of face to face in a store to running an online business. But like I said, regrettably, it's closed for the moment. If and when it reopens, we'll certainly try to let everybody know that that's the case. Moving now to the municipal programs, I'm going to invite Mr. Bazinet to speak to us now. If I can figure out how to unmute him and give him the floor. I think this may actually be something we're going to need our host at the City of Westmount to do. So we're going to wait for a moment here and see if that's a possibility. Sorry, guys. Give me a second here. I'm just going to get him on screen. Okay. Okay. I'm going to have to ask our host at City of Westmount to please unmute Mr. Bazinet so he may speak. And as soon as that happens, we'll be able to move to our next set of slides. Bear with me, guys. Sorry about the technical issues. It's all part of the new COVID world in which we live. In the meantime, I see that we've got more questions coming in. Thank you very much for this. And they're pretty good, and I will address them all near the end of the presentation. I'm going to just see what I can do about getting Mr. Bazinet the mic. Mr. Bazinet, can you hear us?
Yes, I do.
I think you have the floor.
Good.
Great. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. I managed to make it. I had to run outside, but it's just came back.
Well, it's much appreciated.
Good.
Should I put my slides for this program back up?
Yes, but I can't see the presentation or anything right now on the screen. So
oh, I see. Okay, that I think is because you're coming through the Zoom channel, and this is being pushed through YouTube. So let's see what we can do about getting you the slides.
Yes. Yeah.
Hold on one second here. Okay, we're going to share the screen, and let's see if this works. All right. Are you able to see the shared screen now?
Nope.
Okay, so sorry. One moment. I'll tell you what I'll do. Going to just okay. Well, I tell you what. The screen, the slide is up.
Okay.
But would you tell us a little bit? Maybe we'll just do this question and answer style. Would you tell us a little bit about PME Montréal and the emergency assistance to small and medium-sized businesses?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, PME MTL is the network, the official network of for local economic development initiatives on the island of Montreal. So it covers all of the city of Montreal, as well as all of the municipalities that are included in the territory of the island of Montreal. And basically what we do is sustain entrepreneurship initiatives of all sorts in all fields of activities. Now, we've been mandated by the Conseil d'agglomération de Montréal, which encompasses all of the municipalities on the island, to administer an emergency fund, which is basically linked to the COVID situation. This fund has been in place for about a month, and it's more or less the equivalent of the PAC program that you've just spoken about, but for loans that are in the order of $50,000 and less. PAC will cover loans that are $50,000 and more. We cover loans for $50,000 and less. And basically, the application process for these loans is through our website. So anyone interested would have to Google PMENTL.com and look into the emergency COVID fund. And the application form, which is rather simple, is on the website as such. Now, what we require in order to analyze a request under that fund is basically financials dating no earlier than December 31st, 2019. And then also what we'll also need is your kind of form with the Registre des Entreprises du Québec, so your registration with the Registre des Entreprises du Québec, and we will also require, and that the site does provide the links for that, proof that you are in good standing with regards to taxes, whatever taxes are concerned, with both governments, so with Revenu Québec and the Agence de Revenu du Canada, or the Canadian Revenue Agency. So basically, this is the documentation that you have to provide. The form is kind of will have different questions with regards to how the COVID impacted on your business. And we'll also ask you to detail all of the expenses or the financial requirements that you have in order to restart your business. So the program or the fund has been in place for the last month. The territory that we cover at PME MTL Centre-Ville includes Westmount, but it includes other boroughs around Westmount, Côte-des-Neiges, Val-de-Grâce, Plateau, Ville-Marie, and the borough of Outremont. I've had about 200 requests coming from retail merchants from these different territories for that fund. I'd say the rate of approval is rather good. People have been sending us the proper documents for us to assess the financial situation of the businesses. The particular aspect of this fund is that there are no personal guarantees or any form of mortgage that are taken against the loan or asked for to back up the loan. So that's something that is very advantageous.
Yes.
The other thing is that there's a moratorium on capital and interest repayment for 6 months from the time the loan is given out or the money is expended. And the repayment schedule will start 6 months later. The interest for the 6 initial months is forfeited. So it's a fairly interesting loan, and it can be added at the same time as the Canadian Emergency Fund that was available to all businesses throughout the country. So in addition to the $40,000 that you could get through the Canadian fund, this fund is also available. The only exclusion is for businesses that have had a loan through the PACT program that that Matthew just mentioned before. So that's basically what it is. There's still a lot of funds available within that program at this time. We expect that the fund will be in place till the end of this year, but we expect that we'll probably run out of fund in about 2 months from now.
So it's, if I'm reading it correctly, it's to the advantage of anybody who's watching this who think they might be able to benefit to not wait and make that application
Absolutely.
As soon as possible.
Yes,
okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, right. As I say, the rate of approval has been fairly good for all the requests that I've had, and the process will take about 2 to 3 weeks in order to get the approval, the loan contract sent out to you. And the first batch of contract was sent out last week, and we're going to send out checks next week for all of the loans that have been approved in the first stage. So it's fairly rapid or quick.
Are there any restrictions with respect to types of businesses that can apply for this type of grant?
Well, actually, everything is included on our site, but I'd say businesses that you would not usually kind of cover through this type of program are not included, but the restrictions are rather limited. So the description of what is not allowed
Eligible?
in terms of business is on the site as such, but
Okay.
it's a rather limited number of type of businesses.
Great.
Okay, so we've been getting requests. We actually, our office has handled about 500 requests up to now. I've had 200 in the retail sector. And the first batch of contracts that went out last week was 150. We expect that we'll probably send out 100 more next week or early in the week next week. And as I mentioned before, we still have fund available. We expect that it will keep us running for about 2 months from now.
Excellent. And
Okay?
so if people are looking for more information about this or any other PME programs, the website's
Just
probably the best place to go,
the
right?
website is the best
All right.
place to
So
go.
there is a link that's being displayed on the slides right now for this particular program. Like with all other links, it's extremely long and would be difficult to write down this way. But if you Google PME MTL, you'll be able to navigate your way to this particular program fairly easily.
Yeah.
But what about there were some great things you were telling me when we spoke the other day about some
Mhm.
other programs that I wasn't able to find on your website because I think they haven't been
Well,
released.
actually, it's not on the website yet. It's
Yeah,
going to be going online most likely either tomorrow or Monday morning.
great. So we're
And
getting the
will
advanced news.
right. Well, actually, it was approved by the Conseil d'Agglomération, I understand, today.
Great.
So that's the reason why it's not on the website yet. And it's going to be a grant program um, linked to any activities that are, or to any type of expenses that are linked to consolidation of the business after COVID or in order to get started again.
Okay.
So it's a fairly broad program in terms of what it will allow in terms of expenses. It's geared to the retail trade specifically. So it's not all sorts of businesses. It's really retail stores, boutiques, and things like that that are eligible for this program.
Yeah.
And it's a grant program which will allow a subsidy. So it's really non-refundable money,
Hmm.
up to $10,000 per legal entity, and it will cover up to 75% of the expenses that are eligible under that program. So basically, what we're looking for is a contribution from the business of up to 10%, a grant which may cover up to 75% of the expenses that are included in the project. And the project basically covers anti-COVID measures taken by a store, anything linked to e-commerce, anything linked to delivery systems, or and even some initiatives that are linked to the consolidation and the reopening of the business. And what we're going to consider is expenses that have been already made as such. The only restrictions with regard to eligible expenses is that they will not have to be have had the opportunity to get money from the loan program that I've just discussed before. So we won't cover the same expenses, uh,
Mhm.
but any new type of expenses related to again, anti-COVID measures, anything linked to the restarting of the business will be eligible. Now, it's a program that has limited funding for the time being. Um, the application form will be on our website. As I say, the web page will probably be online either tomorrow. I've actually just discussed the details of the web page with our people here this afternoon, and we're finalizing the application form. Basically, what we'll require in terms of information is kind of a brief executive summary of how COVID impacted on the business, and the kind of something showing us that the different type of expenses that have been incurred in order to get restarted.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
If somebody has already been lucky enough to receive a loan
Yeah.
from PME Montréal,
Yeah.
and then wants to apply for the COVID response grant.
Right.
Now we say that there needs to be a contribution equal to 10% of the requested funds,
Right. Yeah.
and that the expenses involved can't be the same ones that were discussed under the terms of the PME loan. So, is it permissible to use 10% of to use money from a PME loan to make the equity contribution of 10% for the COVID response grant?
The answer to this is yes.
Great. So this is what we call stacking,
Right.
and will allow people to have maximum flexibility in the types of applications they make. So it may be in the interest of anybody who's thinking about making an application for the loans to take the time and the energy to review the grant proposal at the same time, put your specific COVID related expenses under the grant application, and put all other expenses for operation under the loan program. And by doing that, you can maximize you get more bang for your buck, as it were.
Right.
Well, that's great. There was another thing you had mentioned that we discussed. Oh, sorry.
There's a third initiative that is.
Yeah, before we go on, I just wanted to show one slide here.
Okay.
I didn't know where people could find out or get information with respect to the grant program because it wasn't on the website yet. I did put up a slide here with your address, the general telephone number for PME Montréal, and the general email. The website is displayed on the screen now. This is just to give you guys an idea of where is PME Montréal, what do they do, in terms of like what area this is Centreville we're talking about. So the address on Sherbrooke Street West is currently displayed, although frankly, don't know if the office is open yet. You shouldn't go there. If you can make a phone call or send an email, please do that, because social distancing is still a thing for everybody. And so this will be included in the slide. Going then to
the only thing that I can mention, Matthew, in addition to this, is that I don't have the exact translation because it is presently being translated.
Yeah.
But in French, it will be called Fonds de Consolidation.
Okay.
Okay, so that if you go onto Google or whatever, just look up PME-MTL Fonds de Consolidation.
Great.
So the information will be available in English at the same time as it is in French.
Amazing. I had on the slides that are being displayed on the screen right now, I had come up with a name for it because I didn't know what else to call it. We called it the COVID response grant. But you had to hear right from the source, folks. The real name of the thing is the Fonds de Consolidation. And whatever it is they decide the English translation will be, which we'll find out as it is announced on the website in the next few days.
Yeah.
So then moving to the last thing that we had discussed the other day. Again, I didn't have a name for it, and it's something that I think you'd mentioned the program will open at the end of June. I called it the COVID Community Relief Fund, but I think that actually it has a real name. Would you tell us a little bit about that one?
Well, it's a fund that is specifically geared towards merchants association that want to set up a program of crowdfunding. And the initiative has already been developed on Wellington Street in Verdun, as well as in Hochelaga. It's basically a program whereby the general public is invited to buy a coupon, a $20 coupon, which is redeemable at any merchants in, for instance, Westmount. And in addition to the $20 that they buy, they get $10 extra from that specific program. So basically, it's a coupon that you buy on a crowdfunding platform. I know that the platform that has been in use by the on Wellington Street as well as in Hochelaga is called La Ruche, but there are other platforms that are considered. So they're crowdfunding funds platforms, and this will allow Merchants Association to issue kind of coupons that are worth $20, and the program will subsidize the Merchants Association in order to enable the association to add on $10 to that coupon. So
Great.
basically, it's going to be administered by the Merchants Association. Uh, it's something that will come into place during this summer. So
Hmm.
we're going to have discussions with the city of Westmount, as well as the Merchants Association and Cartier Green, as well as Victoria Village, in order to see how we can put in the administration of such something like that. But everything is going to be centralized to a crowdfunding platform as such.
That's great.
So basically, there's an application process that will require that associations send in a request by June 29th
Hmm.
of this, coming June 29th, and the overall program would be put into place during the early weeks of July, I would think. So it's an interesting program, but it's not geared towards individual businesses. It's geared towards the Merchants Association, and which will require after that the cooperation and the implication of the different merchants in the two commercial districts of Westmount.
Fantastic. Well, this is really, really fascinating stuff. And I can see that PME Montreal is working extremely hard to assist those of us who need help at this time. So I got to say, on behalf of the community, thank you.
Very
Thank you
good.
for joining us here to tell us about this and for all of the great
Matthew,
work that you guys are doing.
you've also mentioned the RRRF fund, which
Yes,
is
yes. Tell
coming.
us a little bit about the RRRF.
Okay, I'll be brief on it because we don't have the details right now, because we are negotiating directly with the Economic Development Agency for Quebec regarding that new fund. We know that it will be forthcoming sometime mid June. It's another loan program. We don't really have the details yet of how it will be, what will be the criterions, but it's going to be specifically geared to businesses that have a sales volume of less than 250K
Hmm.
per year.
Great.
So that's coming, I'd say, sometime in the second part of June, and it's something again that we will be able to administer. There will be loans up to $40,000 under that program, and as far as our office is concerned, we know that we will probably get a budget of about $5 million for that specific program. So
Fantastic.
that's coming in sometime, as I say, probably some between mid-June and early July. So the
Okay.
details again will be on our website. And again, as I say, it's a loan program, but I don't know what will be the requirements from the Economic Development Agency of Canada with regards to the term or the interest rate or moratorium. That has to be discussed. That's being negotiated right now.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that information as well. We'll stay tuned and encourage all of our viewers to make sure to find that PME Montreal website and put a bookmark on it. Come back and check it frequently because new information keeps being published as it becomes available. And Mr. Bezinet, if you don't mind, if you could stick around for the last
Sure,
10 minutes of the
sure,
presentation, in
sure.
case we have any questions that are specifically oriented around the local initiatives, I'd love to hear from the expert in this area.
Very good.
There are two other little programs we have jammed in here as we got some last minute information. I just wanted to very quickly address these two. They are not government money. These are two programs. Well, one of them is actually a private money from Facebook, of all places, and the other is from the Chamber of Commerce Association of Canada. So the first one is the Facebook Small Business Grants Program. Now, this really important to note, this program is open for like a week. It closes June the 2nd. So this would be the time to make an application like right now. Facebook is offering up to $5,200, of which $3,200 is Canadian cash, and $2,000 is in optional ad credits. So you can use Facebook as a means by which to advertise your reopening or the businesses or things that you're doing. They're going to be giving these grants to 30,000 eligible small businesses in over 30 countries. And it turns out that Montreal and Westmount are eligible cities. We can apply for these here in our neighborhood. But in order to do so, you've got to have between 2 and 50 employees. You've got to have been in business for over a year. You have to have experienced challenges due to COVID-19, but of course, who hasn't? I think that's a pretty easy criteria to meet these days. And you've got to be in or near a location where Facebook operates. Obviously, we hit that one on the head. That's pretty easy. In order to apply, you'd have to go to Facebook's business website. It's facebook.com/business/boost/grants, and it's displayed on the screen right now. And you're going to have to give them your CRA payroll account number. You may have to provide partnership documentation if you're in a partnership, or proof of incorporation if you are a registered corporation. And if you have a business license, you might have to give them a copy of that as well. And of course, fill out their application form. They're going to want to know what you plan to do, or why you need the money, and how they can help you. The other little program, it's actually a pretty big program, but it's limited, is being offered by it's called the Canadian Business Reliance Network. It's for 62 small Canadian businesses to recover and support resilience as we reopen this brave new world, for a total of $620,000 in funds in total. So doing the math, you can see that it's going to be a substantial sum of money to each of these 62 businesses. So the applications are available from June 1st to June 12th, and then they close. And again, you need to be 2 to 50 employees. You've got to have been in business for 2 full years as of March 1st. And you need to have annual revenue of between 150,000 Canadian and 5 million Canadian. So if you hit that high water mark of 5 million and more, this program isn't for you. I think there is an understanding that you may be able to go it alone, or without this particular type of help if you've got that kind of revenue. I'm sorry, 1 second here, just taking a note as we go on to come back to this at the end. Obviously, you are going to need to demonstrate by filling out their application how the grant is going to be used to help your business recover from COVID-19 and to support your resilience. Okay, moving right along. This is the point in the presentation where we would answer your questions. And I see a few have been posed in the chat window, so I'm going to just go in order that they came in. So the first question that we were asked is with respect to, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble accessing it. Hold on 1 second here. Oh boy. First question that we were asked is invisible. I can't see it. Hold on a second here, guys. I'm so sorry. All right. So, okay. Right. We were asked an agreement for a tenant for a reduction of rent. This has to do actually with our real estate presentation that we did on Monday. Has to be for tenants that have reduction of revenue of 70% in April, May, and June. Does it have to be for all 3 months? The quick answer is no. But again, we're talking about different programs today. So for this particular question, I would ask that if you take a look at the program information that I put out on Monday, if it's still unclear, take a look at the ECRA website by Googling CECRA. And if it's still unclear, by all means, drop me an email. My information will be up on the screen, or is up on the screen right now. Next one. If you were closed for April and May with no sales and then 75% in June, does it disqualify you? Again, this is a question concerning the real estate program. And to my knowledge, no, it does not disqualify you. But again, this is something we're going to address offline because it doesn't concern the seminar at the moment. And let's see now, SEBA. Fixed expenses other than rent. Now, we mentioned some of them that may qualify. This is something that is a little loosey-goosey. There was not a lot of information available online as to what might not be a fixed operating expense to meet that $40,000 margin that you need to meet to qualify for the loan. But my understanding is that fixed operating expenses like inventory, shipping, even wages, rent, things that you just can't put off, that you need to pay. Those things all qualify. So basically, if you have operational expenses that aren't flexible and they add up to 40,000, you may be eligible. But that said, you're going to want to make sure that you have a really detailed accounting of what these expenses are and why they can't be moved around, why they're not negotiable. So, for example, if you've put purchase orders in and they're due in 30 days, but there's some line on that purchase order that says something like, flexible terms available for financing, that might be a bit of an issue. If you're producing that as a reason as to why you can't meet your obligations, you've got these fixed expenses, but the paperwork you're giving says that it's flexible. So you're going to want to make sure that you look through with a fine-tooth comb any of those expenses that you want to use as a means by which to access those funds. I actually see that we didn't receive any further questions beyond that one. And actually, we're coming to the end of our time. It's 5 o'clock now, exactly. So to wrap up, to finish, I'm going to just offer thanks again to Mr. Bezinet. Thank you for